God sees your exhaustion. He notices the weight you carry, the silent struggles you fight, and the nights you've stared into the dark, wondering when the storm will finally end. This is more than reassurance. This is confirmation from heaven. Every ounce of pain you've endured has been seen by the Creator of the universe. Every tear shed in secret has been counted and treasured by Him. You are not invisible. You are not forsaken. And hear this clearly. God is about to move on your behalf. When your energy feels depleted, when your prayers seem unanswered, when your faith feels fragile, God remains firmly in control. He does not slumber. He does not falter. And even when you feel cornered, He is already arranging your breakthrough. The weariness in your soul is not weakness. It is the evidence of a heart that has carried much, battled hard, and continued to trust. And God will honor that trust. He will reward that perseverance. You're not going under. You're rising. You're not being buried. You're being planted for something far greater than you could imagine. You may be asking, why has it taken so long? Why have I had to go through so much? Because the greater the weight, the greater the purpose. God allows the struggle not to destroy you, but to prepare you. The weariness is not your end. It is the place where God begins. It is in that place of exhaustion, when you can no longer rely on your own strength, that God reveals His. When the flesh has failed and the will has withered, that's when God shows up in power. Don't think for a moment that God has left you, even when it feels like heaven is silent. He is watching. He is measuring. He is orchestrating something far bigger than you can see. You've come through sleepless nights, through heartbreak, through confusion and fear, and yet you are still standing. That is not an accident. That is God's hand. And if He brought you this far, He will carry you the rest of the way. You are not fighting alone. The very power that created the sun and commands the stars is surrounding you. And when you are at your lowest, God is at His highest. God is closest to those whose hearts are broken, whose spirits are crushed, whose strength is gone. He leans in when the world walks away. He lifts up when others push down. And right now, God is leaning toward you with a plan in His hand and power in His breath. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not too broken, too old, too tired, or too far gone. You are exactly where you need to be for God to show up and show out. And when He steps in, everything changes. He is not bound by time. He is not limited by human logic. He doesn't need the approval of people to move on your behalf. When God says it's your time, no one can stop Him. This tired season of your life is not the end of your story. It is the hallway before the door opens. It is the silence before the shift. God is not done with you. He is just getting started. You may have lost some things, some people, some years, but you have not lost your purpose. You have not lost your destiny. And though you are tired, your strength is not your own. God is your strength, and He will lift you up when you can't lift yourself. You may feel like giving up, but God says, hold on. You may feel like you've prayed and nothing has changed, but God says, wait. Because the moment you think it's over is the exact moment God begins to move. He allows you to reach the end of yourself so that you can discover the beginning of His power. He strips away every false hope until you're leaning on nothing but Him, and that is when miracles happen. This is not just motivation. This is revelation. This is God speaking to the depths of your soul. You've been tired in your body, tired in your mind, tired in your spirit, but God is about to breathe new wind into your sails. The enemy has tried to exhaust you so that you'll settle for less than what God has for you, but the fact that you are still standing is proof that he failed. The fact that you're still listening is proof that your story is not over. And what's coming is greater than what you lost. God has seen every sacrifice you made in silence. He has witnessed the patience you've shown when others misunderstood you. He knows the way you've chosen righteousness when it would have been easier to choose revenge. He sees the way you keep showing up, even when you feel empty inside. And for all of that, God is about to reward you. You have sown in tears, and now you are about to reap in joy. Don't be ashamed of your exhaustion. It's a holy exhaustion. It comes from standing firm in a world that keeps trying to shake you. It comes from carrying burdens you didn't ask for, but handled anyway. It comes from walking through seasons that broke others, but couldn't break you. And now that tiredness is about to be exchanged for divine strength. God is about to lift you, carry you, and restore everything the enemy tried to drain from your life. You didn't survive just to survive. You survived because God still has something for you to do. There is still a blessing to receive, a life to live, a calling to fulfill. God is not finished with you. He has seen the nights you couldn't sleep. He's heard the cries you couldn't put into words. He knows the battles you never told anyone about. And He's stepping in, not with a whisper, but with a thunder. Not with a suggestion, but with power. He is the God who changes everything in a moment. Your weariness is not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you fought long and hard. And God is proud of you. You didn't quit. You didn't give in. You didn't run away. And for that, a new strength is coming. A supernatural peace is coming. Doors are about to open that no man can shut. Help is coming from places you didn't expect. God is about to make a way where there was no way. You may have felt like God was distant, but He's been closer than ever. He's been holding you together when everything around you was falling apart. And now He's getting ready to step in, not just to comfort you, but to change everything around you. You've carried the weight long enough. You've cried long enough. You've endured long enough. Now comes the shift. You didn't lose because you were weak. You endured because God gave you the strength to survive the storm. You didn't fail because you felt tired. You passed the test because you stayed faithful when it was hard. And now everything you lost in the fire, God is about to return in double. You're not at the end. You're at the edge of a divine encounter. There is a sacred moment coming, a divine interruption. God is stepping into your tiredness with restoration in His hand. And when He steps in, your enemies will scatter. Your fears will vanish. Your doubts will be silenced. What you've been praying for will begin to manifest. And the tired version of you will be transformed into a vessel of power, peace, and purpose. Let the world say what it wants. Let the critics scoff. Let the doubters doubt. But you know what God whispered to your heart. You know the promise He gave you in the secret place. And He is not a God who lies. If He said He would do it, He will. If He said He would deliver you, better believe He's on His way. So don't give up now. Don't let the tiredness pull you into despair. God is closer than your next breath. He is near to the brokenhearted. He saves those who are crushed in spirit. And He is about to lift your head and strengthen your bones. What felt like the end will be the beginning of something extraordinary. What felt like defeat will be revealed as preparation for victory. God is not late. He's right on time. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. His timing is not ours, but His timing is perfect. And when He moves in such a way that no one can take the credit but Him. He will show up in such power that you'll say, only God could have done this. And yes, you are tired, but tired does not mean defeated. Tired does not mean forsaken. It means you've walked long enough for God to finally say, rest, my child, now let me take over. You've leaned on your own understanding long enough. Now God is saying, let me carry you. Let me fight for you. Let me open the doors you could never open. He is not just the God of the beginning, He is the God who steps into the middle, who walks with you through the valley, who strengthens you on the battlefield, and who brings you out with more than you had before. You may feel like you've been wandering for years, but God is about to bring you into your promised place. You may have lost count of how many times you wanted to quit, but God counted every time you stayed. And now the reward is near, the breakthrough is near, the divine shift is near. You are not alone, you are not powerless, you are not done. You are God's child, and He is about to step in. He is about to take your hand, lift your spirit, and remind you that you are still His. And He has never let go. He never will. Keep standing, keep trusting, keep believing. Because God is about to show you that everything you went through was not for nothing. It was for this moment, this divine intersection where heaven meets earth, where exhaustion meets restoration, and where your tired soul meets the unlimited power of God. God is not merely aware of your pain, He is deeply involved in your process. You see, God is not a distant observer casually watching your struggle unfold from afar. No. God is intricately present in your suffering, walking with you through every valley, guiding your footsteps through every wilderness. Your tears do not fall into nothingness. They fall into the hands of the Almighty, who counts each one and stores them as seeds for a future harvest of joy. You are not alone in your tiredness. God is in it with you. And not only is He with you, He is about to lift you out of it. There are moments in life when exhaustion doesn't come from physical labor, but from carrying emotional burdens that have worn your soul thin. You've smiled through the pain. You've kept quiet when your heart was breaking. You've stood tall when everything inside you was crumbling. And now God is saying, enough, you've done all you can. Now watch what I will do. This is the kind of exhaustion that attracts divine intervention. When you have nothing left, that is when God begins to show you just how much He has in store for you. The silence you've experienced was not abandonment. It was a divine pause. God often becomes silent when He is preparing something sacred. The soil doesn't make noise while it's growing the seed, but deep inside something is happening in your stillness. God has been rearranging, reshaping, and renewing things that you cannot yet see. Just because you don't hear God doesn't mean He's not working. His silence is not absence, it is preparation. And now that preparation is about to produce manifestation. When your spirit groans under the weight of battles you don't even have words for, God hears it louder than any spoken prayer. When you've reached that sacred place of brokenness, when all your strength has run dry and you fall into the arms of faith, that's when God says, now, let me show you who I am. The weakness you feel is the gateway for God's strength to be revealed. The delay you hate is the doorway through which God brings greater clarity, deeper wisdom, and stronger resolve. You've been tired not just from the trials of life, but from trying to be strong for everyone around you. You've carried others. You've encouraged when you needed encouragement. You gave when you were empty. You stood firm when others fell apart. And though no one clapped for your endurance, God saw it. And God is about to reward the battles you fought in silence. He is about to reward the kindness you gave without expectation. He is about to reward the humility you showed when you could have retaliated. There is a quiet power that comes when your strength is gone, and all you can do is whisper, God help me. That whisper shakes the heavens. That whisper summons divine attention. God does not ignore the faint cry of a weary soul, and He does not turn away from those who have reached the end of themselves. In fact, that's where He does His best work. When human strength is gone, when logic has no more solutions, when the night feels endless, that is the soil where divine miracles grow. There is a beauty in being tired after doing what is right. There is a sacredness in being exhausted from obedience, not from rebellion. When you get tired from pursuing truth, from showing mercy, from resisting temptation, from holding on to faith, that kind of tiredness is precious in the eyes of God because it means you've been fighting the good fight. And those who fight the good fight are never forgotten. God will vindicate your struggle. He will crown your consistency. He will multiply what you thought was wasted. Do not let the enemy lie to you in your tiredness. Do not believe the whispers that tell you God has left, that your prayers are empty, that your labor has been in vain. The enemy always shouts the loudest before God breaks through. He tries to get you to quit right before the door opens. But God is not a man that he should lie, nor does he forget the labor of love shown in his name. The reward is coming, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. You must understand something deep in your spirit. When God steps in, he doesn't patch what's broken, he makes it new. He doesn't just restore what was lost, he increases what remains. He doesn't just heal your pain, he transforms your heart. That's the kind of breakthrough that is coming for you. You will not just recover, you will rise. You will not just survive, you will shine. Because God is not content with just bringing you back to where you were. He is taking you somewhere you've never been. This weariness is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you have reached the edge of divine involvement. It is a sacred exhaustion that precedes a holy encounter. You've tried everything in your power. You've knocked on every door. You've cried every tear. And now you are standing on the edge of a moment that will shift the entire trajectory of your life. God is about to act. God is about to release what has been held back. God is about to shift the weight off your shoulders and place peace into your heart. You don't need to see how it's going to happen. You just need to trust that it will. Because God doesn't reveal every step, he reveals his presence. And his presence is enough to walk through the fire without being burned. His presence is enough to stand in the storm and not be moved. His presence is enough to calm the chaos within you, even if the chaos around you remains. There is power in trusting God when you're tired. That kind of trust breaks strongholds. That kind of faith invites divine acceleration. You've waited long enough. You've wept long enough. Now it is time to believe again, not because you feel strong, but because God is your strength. And when he moves, he does it in a way that makes the tired worth it. He brings such peace that you forget the storm. He brings such favor that you forget the struggle. He brings such clarity that you understand why the waiting had to happen. What you thought was the breaking point will become the turning point. What you thought was a setback will be revealed as a setup. What you thought was the end will be the beginning of something far greater. That's how God works. He doesn't just fix your life, he transforms it. He doesn't just answer your prayers, he exceeds them. He doesn't just step in to help, he steps in to take over. So if you feel like you're at the end of your rope, don't despair. That's exactly where God wants you to be. Not so you'll suffer, but so you'll finally release control. God doesn't need your strength, he needs your surrender. Let go of the anxiety, let go of the fear, let go of trying to figure it all out. Rest in the knowledge that God is still writing your story, and the chapter you're entering will not look like the one you're leaving behind. You are not what the world says you are. You are not what your past says you are. You are what God says you are, called, chosen, protected, guided, and sustained. You are a vessel of purpose, and even in your tiredness, you are being prepared for something divine. God will use your exhaustion to deepen your reliance, to sharpen your focus, and to enlarge your capacity. And when he steps in, the tiredness will turn into testimony. No moment of pain has been wasted, no sleepless night has gone unnoticed. Every cry, every ache, every sigh that escaped your lips has moved the heart of God. And now the heavens are responding. The season is shifting. The clouds are parting. And the light of divine intervention is about to shine upon your path. Not because you were strong enough, but because you trusted enough. That's the kind of strength God is giving you now. Not the strength to carry the weight, but the strength to let Him carry it for you. Not the strength to keep fighting alone, but the strength to believe that help is on the way. And that help doesn't come from people, from systems, or from circumstances. It comes from God alone. You've come through fire, you've come through flood, and you're still standing. You didn't lose your mind, you didn't quit, you didn't sink. That's not by accident. That's because God held you when you couldn't hold yourself, and He's not about to let go now. In fact, He's stepping in stronger than ever before. There comes a time when the soul cries, not for answers, but for relief. Not for explanations, but for peace. You've crossed deserts with a heart full of faith. You've climbed mountains with trembling hands, hoping that the top would bring rest. And now you stand here, worn out, not because you failed, but because you kept going. And in that fatigue, God sees something beautiful, not weakness, not defeat, but a vessel emptied and ready to be filled. You are not collapsing. You are being cleared of every weight so that the glory of God can take over and carry you farther than your strength ever could. You have not missed your moment. The delays, the setbacks, the unanswered prayers, they were not signs that God forgot you. They were divine shields protecting you from what you could not yet see. Every no was a wall keeping destruction out. Every closed door was the hand of God saying, "Not this way, not yet." And now, as you stand on the edge of weariness, God is saying, "I am the one who kept you from walking into a trap. I am the one who preserved your soul. Now watch how I lift you in my perfect timing." You may be looking around at others who seem to be thriving while you are barely surviving, but don't confuse movement with progress. God has kept you in the waiting room, not to punish you, but to prepare you. What He's about to do in your life will require a foundation so deep, so secure, that only a long season of refinement could have produced it. And now that foundation is set. The winds have blown, the rains have come, but you are still rooted. You are still here. And because of that, God is about to build something powerful on the foundation of your endurance. Do not be disheartened by the slowness of change. A tree does not burst through the soil in a moment. Its roots grow in silence before its branches reach for the sky. And in the same way, your growth has been happening deep within, in places no one else can see. That spiritual root system, watered by your tears, fed by your faith, and anchored by your trials, is what has kept you from being uprooted in the storm. And now you are ready to rise, not because of what others see, but because of what God knows is within you. The enemy wants to convince you that tiredness means you're unqualified. But God uses the tired to show the world what divine strength looks like. When God steps in, He doesn't choose the ones with polished lives and perfect plans. He chooses the weary, the battle-worn, the ones who have been in the fire and refuse to bow. And if you're still breathing, it means you are still chosen, still purpose, still destined for the greatness God has ordained before time began. Your weariness has not disqualified you. It has prepared you. There is a kind of tiredness that strips away pride, ego, and self-reliance. And when that is gone, all that remains is pure trust. That is the place God has brought you to, not to crush you, but to reveal Himself to you in ways you could never have understood when you were strong. God reveals the depths of His power to those who are low, not those who are lofty, and in your tiredness, you are standing on sacred ground. You don't need to pretend anymore. You don't need to wear the mask of strength. God is not moved by performance. He is moved by surrender. And when you surrender your exhaustion to Him, He exchanges it for a power that cannot be explained, a peace that confounds logic, a strength that defies circumstances. God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for honest ones, ones who say, "I can't do this anymore, but I know you can." That is when divine power is released, not through might, not through intellect, but through faith rooted in humility. You've walked long enough carrying the expectations of others. You've carried burdens that were never yours to carry. You've tried to be everything to everyone. But now God is calling you back to a place of divine alignment, a place where your soul rests, not in what you do, but in who He is. You were never meant to carry the world on your shoulders. That is God's job. And the moment you place those weights back into His hands, He will begin to move on your behalf in ways that no effort could ever achieve. This is not about striving. This is about trusting. God is not impressed by how hard you work to hold it all together. He is glorified when you lay it down and say, "I trust you to hold me." That kind of trust moves mountains. That kind of trust splits seas. That kind of trust turns weariness into worship. Because when you stop running and start resting in God, He begins to show you that the breakthrough was never in your effort. It was always in your surrender. And now that surrender is opening the gates of divine intervention. The heavens are shifting. The tide is turning. The season is changing. Because God honors the faith of those who remain faithful in the dry place. You've prayed with cracked lips. You've walked when you felt like crawling. And now the clouds are gathering, not to bring more storms, but to rain down the blessings you've long awaited. This is the moment God takes your ashes and gives you beauty. This is the moment He turns mourning into purpose. God does not rush the process. He perfects it. And your process, as painful and long as it has been, is not without purpose. Every delay has refined your focus. Every disappointment has deepened your dependence. Every hardship has increased your hunger for something more than this world can offer. And that hunger, when directed toward God, unlocks realms of strength, wisdom, and revelation that only come through the fire. You are not stepping into this next season with old strength. God is giving you something new, not recycled energy, not surface-level encouragement, but deep spiritual power that anchors your soul in the truth that God is your sustainer. When the world shakes, you will not fall. When others lose their way, you will stand firm, not because of who you are, but because of who your God is. Let the tiredness you feel remind you that you have given everything you had. Let it also remind you that now it is God's turn. You've done all you can do. You've prayed, you've waited, you've believed. And now God is saying, "Be still, let me be God." He is stepping into the very places where your hands have come up empty. He is stepping into the rooms where your voice was ignored. He is stepping into the chapters of your life that seemed unfinished, and He is writing a new ending. This is a divine promise. What is coming will make sense of what you've been through. What is ahead will redeem what was lost. And you will not just walk into it, you will walk in it with a peace that surpasses understanding. Because when God steps in, He doesn't just change your situation, He changes your perspective. He teaches you how to live above your circumstances, how to dwell in contentment even in chaos, and how to recognize His fingerprints in places others only see confusion. So stand firm, even if your knees are shaking. Lift your head, even if your heart is heavy, because your tiredness is not the end, it is the invitation. It is the signal that God is about to show Himself mighty. And when He does, you will look back on this season not with regret, but with awe. You will say, "It was worth it, every tear, every ache, every sleepless night, because it brought me to the feet of the Almighty, and when I was at my lowest, God lifted me with a strength not my own. You are on the edge of something sacred. Don't let the fatigue fool you. The enemy always attacks the hardest right before the breakthrough. He tries to confuse your vision, discourage your heart, and drain your hope. But he cannot stop what God has ordained. He cannot delay what God has decreed. You are still under divine covering, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper, not even the weapon of exhaustion. You will rest again, not just physically, but spiritually. You will breathe again without the weight of the world on your chest. You will walk again with joy in your step and peace in your heart. And it won't be because the road got easier, but because God made you stronger. Not by force, not by might, but by the power of trust in the one who holds your life in his hands. Let every heavy burden now be lifted. Let every silent fear now be stilled. Let every doubt now be drowned in the truth that God is not only aware of your tiredness, He is actively responding to it. He is already stepping into your tomorrow. He is already ahead of you, clearing paths, softening hearts, opening doors, and making crooked places straight. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where God needs you to be, for His power to be made perfect in your surrender, and His glory to be revealed in your testimony. And that testimony will not be one of strength that never failed, but of a soul that, though weary, was held together by the hand of God until the appointed time of victory. And now, in the stillness of your soul, listen, truly listen. For there is a whisper from heaven rising louder than the noise of your doubts, a whisper that says, I have seen your labor, I have heard your cry, I have not turned my face from you, and I will not delay. That is God speaking to you, not as a distant ruler, but as the one who fashioned your spirit, the one who walked with you through the fire, and the one who stands ready to pour out power where there was once only pain. You did not come this far to be abandoned. You did not fight all these battles just to be left in the dark. God has carried you through what others did not survive. You have endured in silence what would have destroyed the strongest among men. And now God is ready to repay every hour you stood alone, every moment you trusted Him when all evidence said otherwise. This is not just a season of restoration, it is a season of divine reversal. Where there was loss, gain will come. Where there was shame, honor will arise. Where you were cast down, God will raise you up. You see, God is not bound by the reports of man. God does not answer to opinions, to predictions, or to statistics. When He decides to move in your life, it won't matter who counted you out. It won't matter who turned their back on you. God has the final word. And when His word goes forth, it never returns void. When He commands doors to open, no man can shut them. When He declares favor over your life, even your enemies will have to stand aside and watch it unfold. Some of you are tired because you've been trying to fight spiritual battles with natural weapons. You've been using intellect where God required surrender. You've been pushing with effort where He's asking for stillness. You've been trying to do it your way, thinking God was taking too long. But in truth, God was waiting for your hands to release what only His hands can fix. You can't carry the weight of destiny and the burden of control at the same time. At some point, you must lay it down and say, God, I trust your way even when I don't understand your timing. And it's in that moment when you let go that God begins to pour in, not just blessings but clarity, not just answers but peace. He will not only fix the situation, He will transform you in the process. Because God is not just interested in changing your surroundings, He wants to strengthen the one standing in the middle of the storm. He wants to turn your tiredness into testimony, your waiting into wisdom, your pain into purpose. The fatigue you feel is not just from the load, it's from the hidden battle beneath the load. The thoughts you've wrestled with, the pressure you felt to remain strong, the isolation of carrying a vision others didn't understand. All of that weighs heavier than physical labor. But now God is removing that invisible weight. He is lifting the unseen burdens. You may not feel it all at once, but the shift has already begun. Where there was confusion, there will be clarity. Where there was heaviness, there will be lightness. Where there was delay, there will be acceleration. Don't you dare believe that your best days are behind you. That is a lie whispered into the tired ears of the faithful to break their momentum. But God says your latter days will be greater than the former. What's ahead of you is bigger than what's behind you. The struggle may have worn down your body, but it has built up your spirit. And what God is about to do will not be because you had perfect strength, but because you had unwavering faith. God rewards those who trust Him in the dark. God rewards those who stay faithful when no one is watching. When you chose integrity over compromise, when you forgave instead of retaliating, when you stayed instead of walking away, that was strength not born from willpower, but from the Spirit of the Almighty sustaining you in secret. And now what was done in secret, God is about to reward openly. There will be a visible shift, a public outpouring of what was cultivated in private pain. Every time you resisted the urge to quit, heaven recorded it. Every time you bowed your head in exhaustion and whispered, "God, I still believe," a record was kept. And not one moment was wasted. God stores every tear, and He weighs every sacrifice. And now He is tipping the scales in your favor. You will not just receive back what was lost, you will receive what eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and hearts have not imagined. That is the promise of the one who never breaks His word. And listen, this isn't just about recovery, this is about release. God is not just restoring you back to where you were, He's releasing you into where you were always meant to be. The battles have prepared you for this. The weariness was the womb for wisdom. The fire did not burn you, it purified you. And now, as the smoke clears, you will see what God was doing all along. He was strengthening you in silence, maturing you in solitude, and preparing you for a platform that is built on surrender, not self. So don't grow bitter in your tiredness. Let it make you more tender to the voice of God. Let it draw you closer, not farther, because that very tiredness is the place of your transformation. That exhaustion is not the evidence of failure. It is the threshold of breakthrough. And the moment you stop resisting and start resting in the power of God, you will see doors open that no key could unlock. There are things about your life you still don't understand. There are losses you still grieve, betrayals that still sting, delays that still frustrate. But God is not finished. He is the author of your story, and He has not handed the pen to anyone else. The pages ahead are not blank. They are filled with moments of redemption, restoration, and radical change. What looks like the end is simply the turning of a page, and the next chapter will not carry the weight of the former. You are being shifted, not shattered. You are being positioned, not punished. You are being stretched, not broken, and all of it has a purpose. God wastes nothing, not your pain, not your process, not your exhaustion. Everything is being used to usher in something that could only be birthed through faith, forged in fire. And one day, very soon, you will look back on this season, not with sorrow, but with sacred gratitude. You will understand why it had to be this way. Because if God had rescued you too soon, you would have missed the deeper work. You would have missed the revelation. But now you carry something more than answers. You carry wisdom. You carry perspective. You carry strength that doesn't come from this world. And now, right now, God is drawing near to you, Not because you cried the loudest, but because your heart stayed faithful when no one understood your journey. Your tiredness has become the altar upon which your devotion is laid. Every silent prayer, every unseen effort, every moment you resisted the urge to run away has risen like incense before the throne of the Almighty. And God in His perfect wisdom has not only heard you, He is responding. Not with delay, not with a whisper of hope, but with a divine interruption that will shake the ground beneath your despair and replace it with solid peace. There are seasons when God hides His hand so you will search His heart. And in the stillness, in the long nights of tears and unanswered questions, your soul has been learning something sacred, how to know God not through what He gives, but through who He is. And now, that knowing will become your strength. That intimacy will become your security. Because you no longer follow God only for His blessings. You follow Him because you have tasted His faithfulness even in the drought. And that kind of trust, birthed in the shadows, will carry you through every valley ahead. You've been asking for relief, and God is preparing release. You've asked for a way out, and God is preparing a way through. You've asked for answers, and God is giving you revelation. You've asked for rest, and God is clothing you with resilience. This is not just a response, it is a holy reversal. That which was meant to crush you is becoming the very thing that launches you. That which once made you weep will become the reason you praise. For when God steps in, nothing remains the same. And don't you dare think God is late. He is never late. God moves in precision, not pressure. He does not respond to panic. He responds to purpose. And your life is not drifting aimlessly. It is being carried by divine hands toward an appointed season. The weariness is proof that you've come a long way. The fatigue is a sign that you're closer than ever. If you could see what God has already released in the unseen realm, your soul would leap. The answer is already on the way. The provision is already being prepared. The protection has already been dispatched, and all of it is heading in your direction. Not because of who you are, but because of who God has always been, faithful, true, and merciful. Let this truth burn into your spirit. God knows when you've reached your limit. He knows when the last thread of strength is fraying, and He will not let you fall beneath the weight. He promised not to burden you beyond what you can bear, and He is not a God who breaks His promises. So when you feel like you're at your end, know this: it's not the end at all. It's the beginning of God's power rising in your life like never before. This is the place where miracles start, where the natural stops and the supernatural begins. You didn't come through the fire just to go back to the ashes. You didn't survive the wilderness to settle in defeat. You didn't walk through those lonely nights to live in the shadows. God is calling you out, not in your own strength, but in His. He's calling you to rise again, to believe again, to breathe again. Not as the broken, but as the bold, not as the weary, but as the warrior. Because this time you will not be moving in your own might, you will be carried by the wind of divine strength. Breathe straight from the mouth of the Almighty. This tiredness will not define you. This fatigue will not finish you. It will forge you into someone who walks with clarity, speaks with authority, and lives with peace that cannot be taken away. Because once you've known what it is to be carried by God in your weakest state, nothing and no one will be able to shake your faith again. You will not fear the valley because you've walked through it and saw God waiting there. You will not dread the storm because you've weathered it under divine shelter. You will not question the silence because you've learned that God speaks the loudest through stillness. And now, as you stand in the quiet moments between exhaustion and renewal, know this: God is not only about to lift your burden, He is about to lift your head. He is about to show you that what looked like the end was only the beginning of a new anointing over your life. A new season is opening before you, not built on striving but on surrender, not driven by ambition but led by purpose, not marked by fear but sealed with peace. You are not who you were when this season began. The fire changed you, the fatigue refined you, the tears have taught you, and the presence of God has carried you. God's hand has guided you even in the moments you couldn't see it, and now that same hand is turning the page of your story. A fresh chapter begins, not written by your fatigue, but by His intervention, not defined by your frailty, but by His unstoppable strength. So raise your hands, not as a sign of defeat, but as an act of surrender. Raise your voice, not in fear, but in expectation. For the God who watched you in weariness is the same God stepping in right now, bringing His power, His peace, and His promise. I did not carry you this far to abandon you. I held you through the darkest night, and now I will break through with light. Rest in me. Rely on me, for I am your God, and I will not fail you. That is the truth you can stand on. That is the foundation you can build upon. When everything else crumbles, His word endures. God is moving, the season is shifting, the weight is lifting, and you, yes, you will rise again. Not because you never felt weary, but because you chose to trust Him in your weakness. The one who holds the heavens has never failed, and He never will. But who will dare to pray, God, I want you above all else, even if the blessings never arrive? Who will boldly say, strip everything away if you must, but never take yourself from me? The truest longing of the human soul is not for possessions, not for status, not even for relief. It is for God alone. And until He is placed first, nothing else will ever satisfy. Let me speak plainly. God is not a machine that dispenses favors. He is not a silent force waiting to hand out prizes to the loudest requests. He is holy. He is righteous. He is jealous for your heart. And He will not settle for second place, not third, not whenever it happens to fit your schedule. He longs to be the rhythm of your heartbeat, the flame in your spirit, the song that carries you through the night. He desires to be the first name on your lips at dawn and the final whisper at dusk. Not because He is needy, but because He knows your soul cannot live without Him. You may think your desperation is for a breakthrough, but in reality, the hunger in your spirit is for God Himself. And don't be deceived. Just because your hands are full doesn't mean your heart is satisfied. Just because life looks good on the outside doesn't mean the soul is alive on the inside. People are climbing ladders to success only to find them leaning against the wrong wall. They have houses, but no peace, relationships, but no intimacy, possessions, but no purpose. You see, blessings without God are like rivers without water, like fire without heat. They look promising, but they cannot sustain, they cannot save, they cannot satisfy. So hear me now, seek God first, not because He will bless you, but because He is the blessing. He is the source. He is the treasure. He is the reward. Those who seek Him lack no good thing, not because they are always rich or famous or healthy, but because they have found something far greater. They have found communion with the Most High. They have found the one who knows their name, who bottles every tear, who numbers every hair. When you find God, you find peace that the world cannot offer and the devil cannot steal. God is not impressed with empty words or showy religion. He is not moved by routines and rituals. He is moved by a heart that seeks Him, earnestly, relentlessly, sacrificially. A heart that says, God, even if you close every door I hope for, I will still worship you. Even if you say no, I will still kneel in awe. That is the heart that God draws near to. That is the heart He honors. That is the life He transforms. You may be waiting for a miracle. You may be pleading for open doors, for healing, for a shift in your season. But I urge you, before you seek the miracle worker. Before you seek the door, seek the one who opens and shuts according to his perfect wisdom. Before you seek healing, seek the healer. Because sometimes what you think is a delay is actually a divine invitation to go deeper. Sometimes God withholds the blessings so you can discover the Blessed One. How many times have people run to God in crisis only to walk away when comfort returns? How many seek His help when their back is against the wall, but ignore Him when the road becomes smooth again? God is not a lifeboat you abandon when you reach the shore. He is the ocean itself. He is the reason you live and move and have your being. To treat Him as a convenience is to miss the greatest relationship you were ever meant to have. Do you want to be truly blessed? Then build your life around God. Wait, not around what He can give you. Make Him your foundation. Make Him your priority. Wake up early, not to chase wealth, but to sit in silence and hear His voice. Fast, not to manipulate His hand, but to empty yourself and say, God, you are enough. Study, not to gain knowledge alone, but to encounter the living God in every line and every truth. That's what it means to seek God first. It is to rearrange your entire life around Him, not just fit Him into the gaps. Some of you are wondering why everything feels empty, why the success didn't fulfill you, why the applause didn't heal your wounds, why the relationship didn't fill the void. It's because you were created to walk with God, not just to be blessed by Him. His presence is your home. His word is your compass. His voice is your anchor in the storm. And until He becomes your everything, everything else will always feel like not enough. Don't be fooled by this world's version of blessing. Fame fades, riches vanish, beauty withers. But the one who walks with God walks in a blessing that cannot be shaken. You may not have the spotlight, but you'll have His favor. You may not be the loudest voice, but you'll have His whisper in the quiet. You may not have all you want, but you'll have all you need. And that is the real blessing, to walk in step with the Almighty. People chase after God's hand because they have not seen the beauty of His face. They have not tasted the sweetness of His presence. But once you have, nothing else will do. Once you have stood in His glory, everything else loses its shine. Once your heart has been ignited by His fire, you can't go back to lukewarm living. That is why God sometimes strips us of the very things we thought we needed, so that we might finally see that He alone is our portion. So, if God removes the blessing, will you still worship? If He delays the answer, will you still trust? If He says, wait, will you still serve? That is the test of true faith. Not what you do when He gives, but what you do when He withholds. The mature soul says, even if He slays me, yet will I trust Him. Because the goal is not comfort. The goal is closeness. The goal is not abundance. The goal is adoration. The goal is not the blessing. The goal is God. And I say to you now with urgency in my spirit, and return to the secret place. Return to that quiet room where you first heard His voice. Return to the simplicity of loving Him for who He is, not for what He can do. Let the fire of hunger consume you again. Let the thirst for righteousness overwhelm your soul. Let every idol be cast down. Let every counterfeit be exposed. Let your heart cry out, not for more things, but for more of God. That is the beginning of true revival. You don't need a bigger platform. You need a deeper altar. You don't need more followers. You need more time on your knees. You don't need more affirmation. You need more intimacy with God. Because when you seek God first, blessings will chase you. Doors will open that no man can shut. Favor will surround you like a shield. But those things will be byproducts, not your pursuit. The pursuit must always be God alone. So I urge you today, realign your life. Examine your motives. Ask yourself the hard questions. Do I love God or do I just love what He gives me? Am I building His kingdom or asking Him to build mine? Am I surrendered or just selective? These are the questions that shake the soul. These are the questions that lead to true transformation. And only when we face them honestly can we rise into the fullness of what God has prepared for those who love Him. You don't need to chase after every open door. You need to chase after God. You don't need to compete with the world. You need to commune with the one who created it. You don't need to fear missing out. You need to fear missing Him, because when God is first, everything else finds its proper place. Peace reigns, purpose awakens, blessings come, not as idols to distract, but as tools to glorify Him. But when God is not first, even blessings become burdens. There is a kind of poverty in this world that no amount of riches can cure, the poverty of a soul disconnected from its Creator, a soul that hungers for more but feasts on dust, a heart that reaches for blessings like empty hands chasing the wind, never realizing that what it truly longs for is God Himself. There is no substitute for the presence of God, not wealth, not recognition, not comfort, not even religious activity. You can surround yourself with everything the world calls good and still feel hollow, if God is not the center of it all. When God is not first, everything else becomes misaligned. The heart becomes restless, the spirit anxious, the mind distracted. That is why so many feel exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually. They are carrying burdens they were never meant to carry. They are chasing promises while ignoring the promiser. They have turned faith into a transaction, seeking God only to get something in return, as if He were a means to an end. But God is not a tool for our ambition. He is the purpose, the source, the destination. To seek God first is not just about giving Him the top spot on your to-do list. It is about surrendering your entire existence to His will, His timing, and His truth. God does not compete for your attention. He waits, patient but not passive, loving but not indulgent. When you ignore Him, He doesn't chase after you with noise. He allows silence to settle in so that your heart might finally recognize its own emptiness without Him. It is in that silence, in that holy stillness, that the voice of God becomes loudest. But you must be willing to silence the world, to quiet your desires, and to listen, not for what you want to hear, but for what God is truly saying. There is no greater pursuit than the pursuit of God, not because He is hiding, but because He is holy. His presence is not discovered through casual glances or hurried prayers. It is found when the soul becomes desperate, when you drop every idol, every distraction, every false hope, and fall to your knees with one cry, God, I need You more than I need anything else. That's when the heavens begin to open. That's when the soul begins to revive. That's when clarity replaces confusion and strength replaces weakness. So many are waiting for God to change their situation, but God is waiting for you to change your position, not your physical posture, but your heart posture. Are you seeking God with convenience or with conviction? Are you coming to Him as a guest in your life or as the one who owns your life? There is no halfway surrender. There is no casual seeking that unlocks deep intimacy. If you want the fullness of God, you must give Him the fullness of you. And understand this. Sometimes God delays the blessing not to punish you, but to protect you from loving the blessing more than you love Him. He sees how fragile our devotion can be. He knows how quickly we forget when things get easy. So in His mercy, He withholds not to break us, but to build in us a faith that cannot be shaken by seasons or circumstances. Faith that says, even if nothing changes, I will still seek You. Even if doors remain closed, I will still trust You. Even if the blessing never comes, I will still serve you with all that I am. That kind of faith cannot be faked. It is forged in fire. It is born in the wilderness. It grows when God seems silent, when prayers feel unanswered, when hope is tested again and again. But in that wilderness, something beautiful happens. You stop seeking the blessing and you start seeking God. And when you find Him in the dry place, you discover that He is the oasis you didn't know you needed. You discover that His presence is the blessing, not what He gives, but who He is. The true sign of a blessed life is not abundance, it is alignment. Alignment with God's will, alignment with His purpose, alignment with His timing. And that kind of alignment only comes through consistent, deep, passionate seeking of God, not just on the mountaintops, but in the valleys. Not just when things are going right, but especially when they're falling apart. Because it's in those moments, the moments of pain, confusion, and stillness, that the soul is most open to transformation. Do not measure your spiritual life by your material conditions. There are people with full bank accounts and empty souls. There are others with nothing but God, and yet they are overflowing with peace, with strength, with purpose. Because when you truly seek God, you tap into a power that the world cannot replicate. You receive joy that circumstances cannot destroy. You find purpose that no one can steal from you. That is what it means to be blessed. That is what it means to walk in divine favor. But beware of distractions. The greatest enemy to a God-first life is not always evil. It is often the good things that become idols. It is the career that consumes your thoughts, the relationships that demand your energy, the goals that steal your focus. None of these things are wrong, but when they replace God, when they rise above Him in your heart, they become chains. They may look like blessings, but they slowly rob you of your intimacy with the one who gave them to you. God must be sought with urgency, not passivity, with hunger, not apathy, with fire, not formality. A seeking heart is not content with yesterday's encounter. It yearns for more, not more things, but more of God's presence, more of His truth, more of His refining. Because the one who seeks God is never stagnant. They are always growing, always stretching, always moving towards something deeper. And that depth becomes their foundation, their compass, their identity. God is not calling you to a life of endless striving for His approval. He is calling you to rest in the assurance that you belong to Him, and that seeking Him is the only thing that will keep you grounded in a shaking world. Everything else will shift, people will change, seasons will come and go. But when God is your foundation, you will stand firm. You will not be tossed by every wind. You will not be crushed by every hardship. You will not be seduced by every lie. The path to blessing is not paved with manipulation or performance. It is carved through surrender. It is walked with humility. It is led by obedience. When you stop demanding and start listening, when you stop rushing and start waiting, when you stop pursuing results and start pursuing God, you will see doors open that no effort could ever force. You will see peace settle into places that used to be filled with anxiety. You will see a joy rise up that makes no sense to the world. This is the secret the world cannot comprehend, that the greatest treasure is not in what God does for you, but in who God is to you. The one who finds this treasure no longer worries about outcomes. They are no longer tossed by opinions. They are no longer afraid of loss, because they have anchored their hope not in blessings that fade, but in the eternal God who never changes. So wake up your soul, call it to attention, shake off the numbness that life has tried to place on your spirit. Refuse to live another day casually connected to God. Seek Him with tears if you must. Seek Him with fasting. Seek Him with relentless devotion. Let your pursuit of God be the loudest testimony of your life. Let your hunger for Him speak louder than your success, your status, or your reputation. Let the fire in your heart declare to the world, I seek God first, not because I am perfect, but because I know I am nothing without Him. There is coming a time when every foundation will be tested, when storms will blow and fires will rage. What will hold you then? Not the blessings, not the things you acquired. Only God, only the relationship you built with Him in the secret place, only the trust that was forged in the furnace of seeking. That is what will carry you through. That is what will keep you standing when everything else falls. You want to live a life that is unshakable? Then let God be your first pursuit, your daily bread, your unrelenting desire. Not just in the morning, not just when problems come, but every moment, in every decision, in every dream. Seek Him not just with your lips, but with your life. And watch how everything else begins to change, not because God finally decided to bless you, but because you finally discovered that seeking Him was the greatest blessing of all. The world will always try to convince you that fulfillment lies in what you can achieve, accumulate, or control. But the soul knows better. The soul was never designed to be filled by things. It was created to be filled by God. And until you truly seek God with your whole heart, you will continue to feel the ache of emptiness, no matter how full your hands may be. You see, success without God is merely noise. Comfort without God is a trap. Prosperity without God is a path that leads to spiritual poverty. The enemy of your soul doesn't always come dressed as destruction. Sometimes he comes disguised as distraction, not to destroy you outright, but to detour you from the one pursuit that actually matters, seeking God above all else. There are moments in your life when you must stop everything and ask yourself, what am I truly chasing? Am I chasing peace or the Prince of Peace? Am I chasing breakthroughs or the one who breaks every chain? Am I chasing answers or the one who is the source of all wisdom? Many people spend years running after the wind, only to collapse in exhaustion, wondering why they feel so lost. The answer is simple. They put the blessing before the one who blesses. They looked for fruit, but ignored the root. They tried to build a life without the foundation of God, and now they are sinking in the sand of their own ambition. God does not play hide and seek. He is not far off. He is near to those who call upon Him in truth. But He is not found in shallow waters. He is not discovered in the rush. You must go deep. You must be still. You must let go of your pride, your plans, your need to control, and seek Him with a heart stripped of pretense. A heart that is not trying to manipulate, not trying to impress, but simply longing to connect with the Creator of all things. There is a fire that comes when you seek God sincerely. It's not a fire that consumes you, it's a fire that refines you. It burns away the impurities, the lies, the fears, the false identities you've clung to. It reveals who you really are, and more importantly, it reveals who God really is. And once you've tasted that refining fire, you'll never settle for lukewarm religion again. You'll never settle for secondhand spirituality. You'll want the real thing. You'll want God, not a filtered version, not a cultural adaptation, but the living, breathing, holy, sovereign God who speaks into the silence and shapes destinies with a whisper. Some people seek God only when trouble comes, but true seekers, the ones who walk in power and unshakable peace, they seek God at all times. In joy and in sorrow, in abundance and in lack, in celebration and in grief, because they understand that God is not seasonal. He is eternal. He is not part of life. He is life. He is not the emergency exit. You run to Him before the fire, not just during it. When you live with that kind of reverence, when your heart beats with that kind of pursuit, you begin to experience a level of blessing that can't be quantified, not always in possessions, but in presence. not always in outward results, but in inward transformation. Let me tell you the truth that many refuse to accept. There is no shortcut to God's power. There is no substitute for a deep daily walk with Him. You cannot fake spiritual intimacy. You cannot microwave spiritual maturity. If you want to walk in wisdom, if you want to carry divine authority, if you want to live a life that truly matters, you must pay the price of seeking God with your whole heart. Not half, not when you feel like it, not when everything else fails. Every day, every breath, every choice. And don't misunderstand, God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be present. He is not waiting for your flawless performance. He is longing for your surrendered heart. The beauty of seeking God first is that you begin to realize that He has already been seeking you. He's been waiting at the door, knocking, whispering, drawing you to Himself. And once you open that door, once you truly let Him in, not just into your schedule, but into your very soul, you begin to live with a clarity, a purpose, a power that no man can take away. But you must protect that pursuit, because once you start seeking God first, the world will try to pull you back. Distractions will rise. People will misunderstand you. Voices will try to tell you that you're wasting time, that you need to focus on more practical things. But remember this, there is nothing more practical than walking in step with the one who created time itself. There is no greater advantage than hearing from the God who sees the end from the beginning. There is no higher calling than to be known by Him and to know Him, not just in theory, but in intimacy. Seek God first, not just to receive blessings, but to understand how to handle them. Because blessings without wisdom can destroy you. Prosperity without humility can corrupt you. Influence without submission can ruin you. But when you seek God first, He prepares your character before He enlarges your territory. He teaches you how to carry the blessing without the blessing carrying you away. He molds your heart to stay anchored, even when the winds of success begin to blow. And hear this with urgency. If your greatest desire is not God, then your heart is aiming too low. You were not created for shallow living. You were not placed on this earth to blend in and drift along. You were created to burn brightly with purpose, to shine with the light of truth, to be so filled with God that the world can't help but notice. That is the power of seeking God first. It transforms you. It elevates you. It marks you. And it causes you to walk in a divine rhythm that no man-made plan can replicate. Some of you have been asking, why hasn't God blessed me yet? Why hasn't He opened that door? Why does it feel like I'm stuck? Could it be that He's waiting for you to seek Him more than the answer? Could it be that the delay is not punishment but preparation? Could it be that He's calling you deeper, stripping away the noise, allowing you to be emptied so that you can finally be filled with Him? There is a sacred power that comes when you make God your priority. You become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because your spirit becomes stronger. You walk through valleys with courage. You face trials with peace. You endure storms with confidence because you know who walks with you. You know who holds your future. You know who fights your battles. Not because you memorize the formula, but because you've built a relationship. That is what seeking God first accomplishes. It makes you rooted, immovable, steadfast no matter what comes. So let the world chase fame. Let them chase fortune. Let them chase fleeting pleasures. But as for you, set your heart on God. Make Him your pursuit. Make Him your ambition. Make Him your obsession. And you will find, not only are you blessed, you become a blessing. You become a vessel, a carrier of light, a voice of truth, a warrior of peace, a living witness that when God is first, everything else falls into place. Not always as you imagine, but always as it should be. Seek God before you seek approval. Seek God before you seek applause. Seek God before you make a decision, before you move forward, before you plan your future. Because when you get Him right, everything else comes into alignment. He doesn't promise a life free from trouble, but He promises a life filled with purpose. He doesn't promise that you won't cry, but He promises you'll never cry alone. He doesn't promise that the road will be easy, but He walks every step with you. There is no greater pursuit than this: to know God, to love God, to seek God first, not just once, not just when it's convenient, but every single day. With all your strength, with all your soul, and with every fiber of your being. That is the pursuit that changes everything. That is the journey that never ends. That is the life worth living. There comes a time in every person's life when the noise of the world begins to fade and the voice of eternity becomes louder. That voice is not shouting, it is calling. It is not demanding, it is drawing. And it is the voice of God whispering to your soul, come closer, come higher, come deeper. Not because God needs anything from you, but because He wants to give you something that no one else can, Himself. And when you truly understand that God Himself is the ultimate prize, every other pursuit starts to look empty. Let the world call it madness. Let them mock the one who rises before the sun to seek God. Let them question the one who walks away from fleeting pleasures and shallow fame. Because the one who seeks God first is not living for the applause of men. They are living for the approval of the Almighty. They are building a life that cannot be shaken, even when the storms of this world try to tear it down, because they have discovered something most never will. That intimacy with God is worth more than anything this world could offer. When you seek God first, you begin to see through different eyes. You don't chase what everyone else is chasing. You don't panic when doors close. You don't lose yourself in disappointment because you know that God orders every step. And even the delays are divine. Even the detours are designed. Even the silence is sacred. You stop demanding explanations and start trusting the one who sees the end from the beginning. That's the confidence of a soul rooted in God, not arrogance, but assurance, not pride, but peace, not control, but surrender. There is something powerful about the person who has made God their one desire. They are not easily swayed. They do not crumble under pressure. They do not bow to idols of popularity, success, or comfort, because they have tasted something greater. They have touched the eternal, they have encountered the living God, and they know that nothing compares to His nearness. These are the people who change generations, who shift atmospheres, who walk in power, not because of who they are, but because of whose they are. They don't seek God for what He can do, they seek Him for who He is. That is the kind of pursuit that heaven honors. Understand this: God cannot be second. He will not share the throne of your heart with your career, your goals, your plans, or your ego. He must be first, not because He is insecure, but because anything less will destroy you. When God is not first, everything becomes fragile. Relationships crumble under unmet expectations. Ambitions lead to burnouts. Achievements leave you hollow. But when God is first, everything finds its place. You begin to walk in alignment. You begin to hear clearly. You begin to live purposefully. The chaos of life doesn't disappear, but it loses its power to shake you. Seeking God is not a one-time decision. It is a daily discipline. It is waking up and choosing again and again to prioritize what is unseen over what is seen, to invest in the eternal instead of the temporary, to quiet the distractions so that you can hear the whisper, Because God does not compete with noise. He doesn't shout over the chaos. He waits for you to come away to the secret place, to the stillness, to the depth where transformation happens. That is where you receive wisdom for the day. That is where your soul is refilled. That is where the fire is reignited. If your life feels out of control, ask yourself this: who or what have I put before God? Because anything you place above Him will eventually break your heart. Money can disappear, people can disappoint, health can fail. But God remains faithful, constant, unshakable. He is the anchor in your storm, the light in your darkness, the voice in your silence. And when you make Him your first pursuit, your whole life begins to reflect a divine order that no human effort could orchestrate. Some chase fame, others chase wealth. Still others chase relationships, trying to fill a hole that only God can fill. But you, if you are wise, you will chase God. You will run hard after Him, not casually, not occasionally, but relentlessly. Because you understand that seeking God is not just about accessing blessing, it is about becoming who you were created to be. You were not made to drift through life. You were not born to chase shadows. You were formed by God for God to walk with God. And when you do, everything else begins to align in ways you could never have planned. There is a difference between knowing about God and knowing God. One fills your mind, the other transforms your life. One gives you information, the other gives you revelation. And that revelation only comes when you pursue Him with a heart that says, I don't want anything more than I want you. That is the place where pride dies, fear flees, and clarity comes. That is where purpose is birthed and strength is renewed. That is where the broken become whole and the weary find rest, not in a change of circumstances, but in a deep, unshakable connection with God. This world is moving fast. Temptation is louder than ever. Distractions are dressed in gold. But don't let them steal your hunger. Don't let them dull your pursuit. Don't let them trade your eternal reward for temporary comfort. You are not like everyone else. You are called to higher ground. You are chosen for something deeper. You are set apart, not for comfort, but for consecration. And your power will always be found in your pursuit of God. Don't wait for a crisis to seek Him. Don't wait until everything falls apart. Seek Him now, in your youth, in your strength, in your ordinary days. Seek Him when the sky is blue and when the storm clouds gather. Seek Him when it makes sense and when it doesn't. Seek Him with laughter and with tears. Seek Him when the world is watching and when no one is looking. That is the life that brings glory to God. That is the life that echoes into eternity. And remember, seeking God is not a race for perfection. It is a journey of devotion. It is walking with Him, not just on the mountain, but through the valley. It is holding on to Him when nothing makes sense. It is praising Him when the blessings delay. It is choosing faith when fear screams loudest. That is what it means to seek God first, not with conditions, not with ultimatums, but with total trust. There is a sacred urgency rising in this hour, a call from the depths of the unseen, a stirring from the realm where truth lives unshaken. It is the voice of God calling His people back to Himself, not back to religion, not back to performance, but back to relationship, to intimacy, to surrender. There is a hunger growing among those who have tasted everything this world offers and found it all to be dust. The soul cannot be deceived forever. It knows the difference between shallow waters and deep springs. It knows when it's being fed and when it's merely being entertained. And the soul that truly seeks God will not be satisfied with substitutes. It longs for the real, raw, holy presence of the one who created it. God is not interested in being your emergency exit. He is not satisfied with weekend visits and crisis prayers. He is not honored when we treat him like a spare tire, only acknowledged when something goes flat. God is not a background presence. He is the main thread, the centerpiece, the breath in your lungs and the fire in your bones. He is not just a part of your life. He is life. Until you understand that, every blessing will feel incomplete. Every victory will feel hollow. Every mountain will eventually turn into another valley. But when God becomes your pursuit, your daily pursuit, your primary passion, then even the valley becomes a sanctuary. Even your struggles turn into testimonies. Even silence becomes sacred. Some of you are waiting for peace to come when the storm ends, but those who seek God first know a greater truth. Peace is not found in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of God. You can walk through fire and not be burned. You can sit in the midst of chaos and remain still, not because of who you are, but because of who God is to you. That is the power of pursuit. That is the reward of making God first. Not that the world around you changes, but that you are changed. You become steady. You become unmovable. You become a vessel through which the light of the eternal shines in a world drunk on darkness. Let me ask you this. What does your heart chase when no one is watching? What do you dream of in the quiet? What stirs you to get out of bed in the morning? If it is anything other than God, then you have built your life on shifting ground. Because everything outside of God can and will shake. The economy can shake. Relationships can shake. Health can shake. But God, He never moves. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The soul that clings to Him will never be swept away. God is not impressed by external appearances. He sees the motive behind the movement. He sees the posture behind the prayer. He knows the difference between seeking Him and seeking what He can do. And He rewards those who seek Him, not as a means to an end, but as the end itself. The greatest reward of seeking God is not what He gives you. It is that He gives you Himself. And that, my friend, is more than enough. When you make God your first and only pursuit, something supernatural begins to happen. You begin to crave what is holy. You begin to hunger for truth. Your spirit becomes sensitive to His whisper. Your eyes open to His signs. Your heart aligns with His timing. You stop striving and start abiding. You stop performing and start resting. You stop chasing outcomes and start walking in obedience. And in that obedience, you begin to walk in a power that the world cannot imitate and darkness cannot withstand. This world is loud with its invitations. It sells illusions wrapped in glitter. It markets counterfeit purpose under the disguise of achievement. But deep down, you know, it's all smoke, it's all mirrors. Nothing can satisfy the soul but God. Nothing. And those who seek Him early, who seek Him earnestly, who seek Him not just with their lips, but with their entire being, they are the ones who will walk in a kind of peace that cannot be disturbed, a kind of strength that does not fade, a kind of clarity that cuts through confusion, like a sword through fog. To seek God first means to dethrone everything else, to remove idols that may have crept into your life quietly, politely, wearing the mask of ambition, entertainment, relationships, even religion. Anything that takes more of your attention, more of your energy, more of your affection than God, that thing is too expensive for your soul. Let it go, burn it down, rip it from the altar of your heart, and offer that space back to the one who made you. He will fill it with glory. This is not a call to extremism, it is a call to excellence of devotion, a call to stop giving God your leftovers, a call to stop delaying obedience, A call to wake up from spiritual slumber and return to the fire of the secret place. God is calling a people who will not just visit His presence, but dwell in it. Who will not just pray in crisis, but commune daily. Who will not just speak His name, but live under His authority. That's where the transformation happens. That's where breakthrough is born. That's where blessings no longer control you, because your heart is already full with God. You cannot fake the fruit of seeking God. You cannot manufacture the fragrance of His presence. It is born out of sacrifice, out of discipline, out of choosing Him again and again. Especially when the flesh wants something else. Especially when your emotions rage and your circumstances contradict His promise. That is when your faith becomes fireproof. That is when your worship becomes war. That is when your surrender becomes a signal to heaven that you are ready not just for what God can do, but for who God is. Let the tears fall if they must. Let the distractions be cut off. Let the noise die down. Let your heart return. For God is not looking for casual followers. He is looking for seekers, those who will chase after Him as if their very breath depends on it. Because it does. Those who will not be content with stories from others, but will say, I must see for myself. I must hear for myself. I must know You, God. Not secondhand, but face to face. And when you live that way, when you make seeking God your lifestyle, not your last resort, you begin to see His fingerprints in every detail. You hear Him in the silence. You sense Him in the stillness. You know that even when the world shakes, your spirit stands tall, because it is rooted not in things, not in people, but in God alone. That is a life of power. That is a life of purpose. That is a life of peace. So I say to you now, with the full weight of urgency and the fire of conviction, seek God first and keep seeking Him, not just with your words, but with your life. Let your days be marked by devotion, not distraction. Let your heart beat for the unseen, not the temporary. Let God be your base, your guide, your strength, and the one desire above every other. For when you pursue Him above all else, you will carry a peace the world cannot touch, a strength it cannot shake, and a purpose it cannot comprehend. Your life will no longer be tossed by changing circumstances, but held steady by the hand of the Almighty. Fear will not drive you, greed will not chain you, because your soul will be rooted in the One who never fails. Don't wait until the storm comes to discover your need for God. Don't wait until loss strips you bare to remember what truly matters. Choose Him today. Choose Him now. Seek Him with all that you are. And when you do, yes, blessings will follow, but they will not own you. Yes, doors will open, but they will not distract you. For your heart will be secure, your spirit unshaken, and your gaze fixed forever on Him, the source of all goodness, all purity, all eternity. Seek God first, love Him most, trust Him completely, and you will never be without what truly matters. Have you ever tasted the bitterness of betrayal, the kind that slices deeper than any blade, wrecks your trust, and leaves you abandoned in the very place you once thought was safe? Have you ever poured out love, loyalty, and sacrifice only to be met with silence, rejection, or deliberate deceit? Hear me clearly. With truth burning in my spirit, God saw every moment. He saw the nights when your tears soaked the pillow. He saw the hours when you questioned your value. He saw the days when you wore a smile on your face, while your heart was breaking in silence. And I stand here to proclaim with holy certainty, God will lift you up in the very presence of those who tried to tear you down. Right now you may feel forgotten, you may feel discarded, humiliated, or alone, but your story is not finished. The author of your life is still writing. He has not overlooked your faithfulness. He has not dismissed your pain, and He has not ignored the prayers you whispered through trembling lips and tear-stained nights. No, God is watching, and God is preparing a table, not in secret, not in hiding, but in the presence of those who betrayed you. You may not understand the silence now, but trust this. Silence from God never means absence, it means preparation. There are moments in life where God allows betrayal not to destroy you, but to reposition you. Sometimes the very people who turned against you were necessary for the turning point in your destiny. They were part of the process, not the promise. And while they may have walked away thinking they had the last word, thinking they had broken you, God was just getting started. Because when God restores, He doesn't do it in secret. He does it publicly. He will lift you in the very place you were thrown down. He will honor you in the place where you were dishonored. He will bless you in front of those who cursed you. He will heal you openly in the presence of those who hoped you'd stay broken. Do not grow bitter. Do not seek revenge. Do not waste your energy trying to explain yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Let them laugh, let them talk, let them gossip, let them point fingers. But while they're watching, God is working. He's building something in you that betrayal cannot break. He's planting seeds of glory in the soil of your suffering. He's using their lies to strengthen your truth. He's using their rejection to reveal your resilience. Don't you see? They thought they buried you, but they didn't know you were a seed. There is something holy about betrayal. It reveals what comfort cannot. It strips away the illusion and reveals the intention. And when people leave you in your lowest moment, God steps in to show you that His presence is the only one you ever truly needed. The arms of God are never folded in judgment when you've been wounded. They are wide open, waiting to hold you, to raise you, to cleanse you of the pain that people cannot see. Yes, they betrayed you, but God will build you. They left you, but God will lift you. They mocked you, but God will magnify you. You may feel like nothing is happening. You may look around and think you've lost. But I tell you today, the very ones who betrayed you will one day have to witness your restoration. Not because you want revenge, not because you need validation, but because God always finishes what He starts. And when He begins a work in you, betrayal can delay it, but it cannot deny it. Those who thought they ended your story are about to witness a new chapter, one written by the hand of the Almighty Himself. God is the God of justice, and justice does not always come in the way we expect it. Sometimes justice is not a strike of lightning. Sometimes justice is elevation. When God raises you beyond what they thought you could ever become, that is justice. When God favors you despite their schemes, that is justice. When He blesses your name while they tried to stain it, that is justice. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to get even. You need to stay still and let God do what only He can do. Let them think you're finished. Let them celebrate your fall. But the next time they see you, they won't recognize you. Because God is about to dress you in glory. He's about to robe you in honor. He's about to restore you with a power that no betrayal can block. They may have taken your peace, but God is returning double. They may have tried to ruin your name, but God is raising your influence. They may have tried to shame you, but God is clothing you in strength. You are not done. You are being developed. Don't lose heart. Don't let bitterness take root in your soul. Don't rehearse the betrayal in your mind every night. Release it. Because the more you cling to the pain, the more you delay the promise. Give it to God. Every insult, every wound, every leap, put it in His hands. Because when God is your defender, you don't have to fight. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to beg to be believed. God will vindicate you, not just spiritually, not just emotionally, but publicly. He is the God of restoration, not partial, not halfway, but full, overflowing, complete. That means not only will He heal your heart, but He will also lift your life. He will take you from forgotten to favored, from betrayed to blessed, from abandoned to anointed. And the ones who laughed at your downfall will have no choice but to watch your rise, because what God prepares in private, He reveals in public. The hidden work in your soul will soon shine through your life. The tears you shed in silence are about to reap a harvest of joy. They meant it for evil, they meant it to break you, but God is using it to make you. They meant to silence you, but God is using it to strengthen your voice. They thought the betrayal would destroy you, but they didn't factor in God. And when God is in the equation, pain becomes purpose, suffering becomes strength, and rejection becomes redirection. Let them see you risen, not in pride, but in the glory of God's redemption. You are not who they said you were. You are who God says you are. You are not the broken version they tried to leave behind. You are the refined version God is raising up. You are not the shame of the past. You are the testimony of His power. And when you walk into your new season, walk boldly, not to prove them wrong, but to prove that God is always right. He chooses the broken, He exalts the humble, He favors the rejected, He uses the betrayed. You may not see it now, but something divine is unfolding. God is rearranging things behind the scenes. He's aligning hearts. He's shifting atmospheres. He's opening doors that no betrayal can shut. And soon, the very ones who betrayed you will say, "We didn't see this coming." That's because they forgot one thing: God was on your side. And when God is for you, no betrayal, no slander, no weapon formed against you can prosper. Your story is not over, it's just getting started. Do not curse your betrayal, thank God for it, because it revealed who is real and who is temporary. It revealed what was built on trust and what was built on convenience. It drew you closer to God than comfort ever could. Sometimes the betrayal is the blessing. Sometimes the hurt is the holy path. Sometimes the rejection is the rescue, because God is more concerned with your destiny than your comfort. And if He had to let them walk away to wake you up, then praise Him for it. Every betrayal is a setup for a comeback, and not just any comeback, a comeback with power, a comeback with favor, a comeback with wisdom. You're not coming back the same. You're coming back stronger, sharper, wiser, and closer to God than ever before. Let the betrayal refine you, not define you. Let it shape you, not shatter you. Let it teach you, not torment you. Because your rise will be greater than your fall, and your comeback will speak louder than their betrayal ever could. The time is coming where God will lift the curtain and show the world what He was doing in you. The time is near when the tables will turn, not by your hand, but by His. He will restore your name. He will restore your dignity. He will restore your peace. He will restore your strength. Not only that, He will do it in full view of those who wish to see you crumble. And it won't be to shame them. It will be to show them that when you walk with God, you will always rise again. They may have left you in a pit, but God will raise you to the palace. They may have thrown dirt on you, but God will cause flowers to bloom. They may have written you off, but God is rewriting your destiny. And those who watched your pain will witness your promotion. Those who caused your tears will see your triumph, because no one can bury what God has chosen to breathe life into. No one can destroy what God has decided to bless. And no one can block the restoration that's coming upon you. And now hear me. If you've been broken by betrayal, if your name has been dragged through the mud by people who once called you family or friend, God has already written your comeback in the ink of divine justice. While the world stares at your wounds, God is clothing you in new armor. Not the armor of pride or vengeance, but the armor of peace, resilience, and unshakable purpose. God's restoration is not about replaying the pain. It's about rewriting your future. And when God restores, He doesn't give you back what was lost. He gives you back better. God sees what they said behind your back. God hears what they whispered in secret. He knows the traps they set, the false smiles they wore, the words they twisted. But He also knows your heart. He knows your silence wasn't weakness. He knows your kindness wasn't foolishness. He knows that your endurance, when you could have retaliated, is the very reason He is about to reward you in full. Do not mistake God's patience for forgetfulness. He keeps perfect record of every tear you shed, every injustice you endured, and every time you chose peace when you had the right to rage. This is where your strength is revealed, not in how you respond to betrayal, but in how you trust God to deal with it. And let me tell you, God never misses. He never fails to restore. He never lets the story end with your pain. And if you stay close to Him, He will take what was meant for your destruction and turn it into the very foundation of your elevation. The same stones they threw to bring you down will become the platform God uses to raise you higher. There are people who left your life thinking they took something from you. They walked away thinking you'd never recover. But they don't know the power of the one you belong to. They don't understand that betrayal does not bury the faithful. It awakens them. And when God is your vindicator, you won't even have to speak. Your restoration will do the talking. Your peace will silence the critics. Your joy will confuse the enemy. Because when God restores, He restores with glory. Let them see your scars. Let them watch you shine. Because those scars aren't signs of weakness. They're proof that God healed you. They're reminders that what was meant to destroy you became the fire that refined you. You don't have to hide your past. You don't have to explain what happened. Just walk in your purpose. Just keep moving forward. Because God is using your story to display His power. Every betrayal that tried to bury you will become a testimony of how deeply God can restore. There's a reason God allows some people to walk away. There's a reason the betrayal came from someone close. Because God needed to show you that your destiny does not depend on who left, but on who stays. And God stays. He remains when others run. He strengthens when others shame. He lifts when others lie. So don't beg for the approval of the betrayer. Don't chase closure from people who were never meant to finish your story. God is your closure. God is your justice. God is your comeback. Some of you have been carrying the weight of betrayal for years. It hardened your trust. It bruised your spirit. But today, hear this truth. God is not only able to restore what you lost, He is able to restore who you were before the pain, the softness in your heart, the purity in your intentions, the fire in your soul. God is bringing it all back, stronger and wiser. He is rebuilding you with deeper wisdom, higher vision, and greater strength. What you're becoming through the pain is far more powerful than who you were before it. The people who walked away did not walk away with your destiny. The ones who betrayed you did not take your anointing. Your purpose is not in their hands. Your future is held by the one who sees all, knows all, and restores all. And when God sets out to restore a person, He does it in such a way that even your enemies will have to acknowledge His hand on your life. They'll look at you and wonder how you survived. They'll look at you and ask how you didn't break, and you'll simply smile because you'll know it was God. There's a level of strength that only comes from being broken and rebuilt by God. It is a strength that no man can give you. It is a peace that cannot be purchased. It is a wisdom that no betrayal can erase. And if you hold on through the process, if you surrender every wound to God, you will rise, not bitter but better, not angry but anchored, not vengeful but victorious. Because the hand of God does not merely restore, it glorifies. It reveals His power in your perseverance. And know this, God is not restoring you for the sake of your reputation. He's restoring you for the sake of His purpose. Your elevation is not just about proving people wrong, it's about proving that those who walk with God cannot be destroyed by betrayal. Your story is about to become a sermon. Your testimony is about to awaken faith in someone else. Because when God restores you, He makes you a lighthouse for others who are still walking through the storm. It is no coincidence that the betrayal hurt you so deeply. It was not random. It was strategic, because what God has placed inside of you threatens the darkness in others. That's why they tried to dim your light. That's why they tried to isolate you. That's why they gossiped. But what they failed to realize is that the more they tried to bury you, the more God was preparing you to break through. You are rising, not in spite of the betrayal, but because of it. God is using it as fuel. So stop mourning what you lost and start preparing for what God is about to give. Stop looking back at who left and start looking ahead to who you're becoming. Stop replaying the betrayal and start rejoicing in the restoration, because your weeping may have endured for a night, but your mourning is coming. And when it comes, the ones who once doubted you, dismissed you, and betrayed you will have to stand back and watch as God displays His goodness in your life. This is not the end of your story. This is the rising action. This is the chapter where you learn just how powerful it is to be held by God when everyone else lets go. This is the moment when your soul realizes that being betrayed by man is never the end, because you are backed by the Almighty. And He never loses, He never forgets, He never fails. He is preparing a restoration so undeniable, so glorious, that no mouth will be able to deny it and no heart will be able to ignore it. Let God work. Let Him finish what He started. Let Him restore you so completely that the very pain that once paralyzed you becomes your platform to speak life into others. Let Him raise you in front of the very people who buried you, not so you can say, "Look at me," but so the world will say, "Surely God was with them." And if you keep walking, if you keep trusting, if you keep believing, even through the pain, you will live to see the day where everything they meant for evil turns to dust in the face of God's blessing. You will see the tables turn. You will see your name honored. You will see your peace return. And you will see your strength renewed. Because betrayal is never the end for those who walk with God. It's only the beginning of something holy, something powerful, something that the world cannot take credit for. God will restore you, not someday, but soon. And when He does, He will do it in front of every eye that doubted, every heart that walked away, and every tongue that cursed you. Stay ready, stay humble, because restoration is on the way. And when it arrives, it will be undeniable. God is about to do something in your life that only He can do, and the world will witness the glory of it. Listen closely, because what I'm about to say is not just meant to inspire you, it is meant to awaken your spirit. Betrayal is not just a wound, it is a test that reveals who truly holds your heart, a test that separates dependence on people from dependence on God. You see, when those you trusted most turn against you, when those you loved walk away without explanation, God is not punishing you, He is purifying you. He is burning away the illusion that your strength came from man. He is removing every crutch, every false comfort, every shaky foundation, so that you may stand firm on Him alone. And let me tell you something. When God strips you, it's because He's about to strengthen you. The world may have thought you were finished. They may have expected you to fold under the weight of betrayal, but they underestimated the power of the one who holds you. They don't realize that God allows the breaking to produce the building. He allows the abandonment to birth the awakening. They see your tears and think you're defeated, but they don't see the divine power being formed in the silence of your suffering. There is a sacred silence in the aftermath of betrayal, a stillness where God does His most intimate work. That moment when you are alone, when the phone stops ringing, when the doors seem shut, that is when God begins to speak, not with noise, but with revelation, not with answers, but with presence. And in that stillness, something holy happens. Your dependence shifts. Your eyes stop looking for validation from people, and they start looking upward. Your heart stops chasing approval, and it begins to crave only the voice of God. Because when you've been betrayed, when you've been left alone in your pain, you learn something that no comfort can teach. God is enough. And not just enough, He is more than enough. He becomes your stability when everything else shakes. He becomes your whisper of hope when the noise of doubt grows loud. He becomes your anchor when the winds of betrayal try to toss you aside. And in that holy moment of surrender, God begins the process of holy restoration. But hear this truth: restoration is not just about regaining what was lost, it is about becoming who you were always meant to be. It's about God reshaping your soul, refining your purpose, and releasing you into a version of yourself that the betrayal was never meant to handle. This is why they left. This is why they turned on you, because what God is preparing in you could not be carried in the presence of betrayal. He had to remove the noise so you could hear His voice. He had to expose the fake so He could surround you with the real. And as He restores you, understand this: God is not just trying to heal your wounds, He's trying to give your wounds meaning. He's trying to use your experience to raise your voice. He's trying to use your tears to water the seeds of compassion and wisdom in your soul. Because once you've been betrayed and restored by God, you carry something in your spirit that no school, no sermon, no book can give you. You carry the evidence of endurance, the mark of mercy, the fire of faith, and you become a vessel of hope for others who are still bleeding. That's why you can't quit. That's why you can't stay silent. That's why you can't let the betrayal harden your heart. Because God needs your story. He needs your scars. He needs your survival. He is not just restoring you for your sake. He is restoring you to become a voice, a light, a guide to others who are walking through the same valley you just came out of. This restoration is personal, but it is not private. What God does in you, He intends to shine through you. And soon, hear this clearly, God will cause those who betrayed you to watch your rise with silent awe. Not because you demand their attention, but because God commands their respect. Your life will become a living testimony of how divine justice works. They may have slandered you, lied on you, turned people against you, but none of their efforts can stand against the will of God. When God chooses to lift someone, no opinion, no alliance, no conspiracy can stop that elevation. And when you rise, it will not be with bitterness, but with brilliance. It will not be with arrogance, but with authority. You will walk into rooms where you were once shamed, and you will be honored. You will receive calls from people who once ignored you, and this time you won't need them. You will return to places where your name was mocked, and they will be forced to acknowledge this is the one God has restored. As you won't have to say a word, your peace will be your power, your growth will be your proof, your restoration will be your response. God never allows betrayal without purpose. He never permits pain without a plan, and the pain you endured was not random. It was preparing you for the restoration that requires a stronger version of you. And if you let Him finish the process, if you trust Him through the silence, He will reward you in ways that betrayal could never block. This is the justice of God, not revenge but redemption, not punishment but promotion, not retaliation, but restoration. And understand this, God's restoration is not given to prove people wrong. It's given to prove that walking with Him is always right. Your elevation is not meant to humiliate others, it's meant to glorify God. Your success is not a weapon, it's a witness. So wear it humbly, walk in it with grace, because the same God who watched you be betrayed in silence is the same God who will now raise you in majesty, and all of it will point back to Him. Do not chase the people who betrayed you. Do not seek closure from the mouths that slandered you. Let God handle it. Let God be your answer. Let God be your evidence. Let God be your light in the darkness they tried to throw you into. Because when it's all said and done, when the dust settles and the voices fall silent, only one voice matters. That is the voice of God saying, "Well done, I have restored you." There is a sacred strength rising within you, forged in the fire of betrayal. And it did not come from the approval of people, it came from being crushed, ignored, and underestimated. And the world is about to see what happens when someone leans fully into God alone after being forsaken by those they trusted most. You see, betrayal strips away everything shallow. It leaves no room for pretending. It takes off the masks. But what betrayal also does, if you hand it over to God, is create space for something holy to grow. It makes room for a faith that cannot be shaken, a peace that cannot be bought, and a restoration that cannot be denied. Do not despise the silence that followed the betrayal. That silence is where God speaks the loudest. In that silence, God shows you who He really is, not just the God of blessings, but the God of rebuilding, not just the God of comfort, but the God of transformation. God is not just mending your brokenness, He is extracting power from it. What once made you cry will soon become the very thing that gives you authority. You will speak from a place that only pain could open. You will lead with a depth that only loss could create. And you will love with a heart that knows what it means to be hurt and healed by the same hands, the hands of God. You may be wondering, why did God allow it? Why didn't He stop them from turning on me? The answer is not to punish you, but to prepare you. There are certain doors God will not let you walk through carrying people who were never meant to go with you. Their presence would have polluted your purpose. Their loyalty was never rooted in truth. So God allowed the betrayal not to break you, but to separate you. And separation is often a sign that elevation is near. When God is about to raise you, He removes what cannot breathe in the altitude of your calling. And do not fear what you lost. What walked away was never greater than what God is sending. God never subtracts without a plan to multiply. He never removes without a plan to replace with better. The betrayal was painful, yes, but it was also prophetic. It revealed what you needed to see, not what you wanted to believe. And now, with clearer eyes and a purified heart, you are ready to receive what God had reserved for you all along. Let your enemies watch. Let the betrayers observe in silence, because soon they will witness a transformation they cannot explain, and they will be left wondering, how did this happen? The answer will not be your hustle. It will not be your charisma. It will not be your connections. The answer will be one name only, God. Because no one restores like God does. He doesn't just return what was taken. He adds favor to it. He adds strength to it. He adds purpose to it. And most of all, He makes sure that everyone sees it was His hand and not yours. You won't have to defend yourself. You won't have to argue or convince. The restoration will speak louder than any rumor. The peace you walk in will silence every tongue. The blessings flowing into your life will declare whose you are. And let me tell you something divine. God is not just going to restore your status, He's going to restore your soul. He's going to restore that hidden place within you that became tired, weary, and disappointed. He's going to breathe life into the areas of your heart that betrayal tried to kill. You will not just recover externally, you will be made whole on the inside. You'll start to smile again, not a forced smile, but a genuine, glowing, sacred joy. You'll laugh again, not to cover the pain, but because God has replaced it with purpose. You'll trust again, not blindly, but with discernment, because God has given you wisdom through the wounds. You will love again, not carelessly, but courageously, because God's restoration doesn't leave you bitter, it makes you better. And you must understand something vital. When God chooses to showcase His restoration, He does it in such a way that the stage belongs to Him. Yes, your enemies will see it. Yes, the betrayers will witness it. But the spotlight won't be on your pain. It will be on God's glory. The restoration will not be revenge. It will be revelation, a revelation of what it means to trust God when everything else falls apart. A revelation of what it means to survive betrayal and still rise with integrity. A revelation that those who place their hope in God will never be put to shame. You are not being restored to the same level you were before. No, God is elevating you beyond what was familiar. He is moving you into spaces where those who hurt you can no longer reach. He is preparing you for blessings they cannot interrupt. You see, when God steps in, He doesn't just fix the damage, He increases the capacity, He enlarges your territory, He multiplies your peace, He strengthens your voice, He stretches your spirit. You're not going back to who you were. You're stepping into who you were destined to be. And let me remind you of this truth. God is not restoring you based on how people treated you. He is restoring you based on how you remained faithful to Him. You didn't curse them when you could have. You didn't seek revenge when you were tempted. You didn't stop praying. You didn't let bitterness become your identity. That's why restoration is coming, not just because you were hurt, but because you honored God through the hurt. You didn't allow the betrayal to pull you out of alignment, and for that, God is about to reward you. This season will not end in defeat, it will not end in silence, it will not end in shame. It will end with a holy unveiling. God is about to remove the veil, the weight, the burden, and reveal the strength, the wisdom, and the beauty that was forming in your soul all along. And when He does, the restoration will be so complete, so breathtaking, so divine, that even the wounds of betrayal will bow in submission to the will of God. There will come a moment in your life, a divine moment, when the very ground that shook beneath your betrayal will become the stage of your restoration. Not by the hands of man, but by the sovereign hand of God. The same voice that spoke galaxies into existence is speaking over your situation now. Be still, I am working. Do you not know? Do you not perceive it? Even when it looks like nothing is changing, God is moving. He is rearranging circumstances. He is aligning opportunities. He is softening hearts. And all of it is preparing the way for your rise. But understand this with clarity. Restoration is not a return to the past. It is a revelation of what was always within you, now brought to the surface by fire. The betrayal was the heat, but the outcome is the purification of your purpose. The ones who betrayed you thought they were tearing you down, but in truth, they were removing the barriers to your breakthrough. They thought they silenced you, but God was only turning the volume down on the noise so He could amplify His voice within you. Do not try to rebuild the broken bridges. Not all connections are meant to be repaired. Some must remain in ruins to remind you where God stepped in. Let God choose who stays. Let God decide who goes, because not every person who walks with you in your early chapters is meant to witness your restoration. Some must watch from a distance so that they and you know it was never by their strength, but only by God's mercy. There's no betrayal so deep that God cannot raise you higher. There's no lie so damaging that God cannot restore your name. There's no abandonment so painful that God cannot fill the emptiness with His presence. And when He fills it completely. You won't be half-healed, you won't be pretending, you won't be faking joy. You will overflow with wisdom, with discernment, with calm strength, with quiet confidence, with the kind of peace that makes people say something happened in their life and only God could have done it. Let them wonder, let them whisper, let them watch. Because God is not restoring you for applause, He is restoring you for purpose. You've been through the valley and now He's placing you on a mountain, not so you can shout about your pain, but so you can declare His power. He will make your life a message, a movement, a miracle in motion. And all of it will point back to the one who never left you when others did, to the one who stood beside you when doors closed, to the one who knew the betrayal was part of your becoming. This is why you must not fight in your own strength. You must not return evil for evil. Do not waste your divine energy trying to prove yourself to people who already chose to misunderstand you. Let God be your defender. Let Him be your shield. Let Him be your vindication. For when He lifts you, no one can push you down. And when He restores you, no one can reverse it. It will be established, sealed, guarded by the authority of heaven. There's a holy weight to the restoration of God. It is not surface level. It is not for show. It is deep, authentic, and rooted in righteousness. When God restores you, He doesn't just give you opportunities. He gives you the character to carry them. He doesn't just open doors. He gives you the discernment to walk through the right ones. He doesn't just elevate your name. He purifies your motives. That's why the process hurts. That's why the waiting is long. Because God is not just changing your situation, and He is changing you. And when the time comes, and it will come, your restoration will be undeniable. Even your enemies will have to admit, surely God has favored them. Not because you fought back, not because you retaliated, but because you trusted the one who sees everything and forgets nothing. Your patience will be rewarded, your silence will be honored, your long nights will be answered, not with explanations, but with elevation. Do not despise your tears, do not be ashamed of your scars. Those tears watered your next season, those scars became the map to your future strength. Every tear you shed in secret was counted. Every heartbreak you endured in silence was recorded. And now God is about to turn what was private into something public. Not to shame you, but to show the world what it looks like when someone walks faithfully through betrayal and comes out blessed on the other side. So stand tall, stand firm, walk with dignity, because the chapter of confusion is ending and the chapter of clarity is being written. The days of silence are behind you, and the days of testimony are in front of you. What they tried to destroy, God has preserved. What they attempted to ruin, God has refined. What they threw away, God is now presenting with honor. You don't need validation from those who betrayed you. You don't need applause from the crowd. You need only the smile of your Creator. And when He smiles on you, He opens doors no man can shut. He raises voices no one can silence. He brings peace that surpasses understanding. And He restores in a way that not only blesses you, but causes others to believe. So keep walking, even when the path is quiet. Keep believing, even when the evidence is not visible. Restoration is not a rumor, it is a promise. And God never makes a promise He cannot keep. He has heard your cries, He has seen your humility, and He is preparing something so complete, so powerful, so unexplainable, that when it arrives, it will not make sense in human terms. It will only make sense through faith. And now, as the truth settles deep into your spirit, let this be written upon the walls of your heart: God will restore you, not in secret, but in the full light of day, not just quietly within, but openly before those who questioned your worth, those who doubted your purpose, and those who betrayed your trust. When God restores, He does not whisper it, He proclaims it with power. He takes what was meant to shame you and turns it into a symbol of honor. He takes the very ground of your rejection and transforms it into holy ground where only His mercy can explain the outcome. Let no man deceive you into believing that your story is over. You may feel weary, but you are not done. You may have been betrayed, but you are not broken. You may have lost people, opportunities, even pieces of yourself. But what remains is the most powerful thing of all: your faith in God. And that faith, tested through fire, refined through tears, will carry you into a restoration far beyond what you once imagined. Because when God restores, He does not bring you back to where you were. He propels you into something greater. Those who betrayed you may have succeeded in causing pain, but they failed to see the divine hand covering your life. They didn't realize that every accusation would become a stepping stone, that every delay would be a setup for something better, that every wound would become a vessel for glory, and that the very people who tried to erase your worth would witness the weight of God's favor on your life. Not because you sought revenge, but because you trusted the one who holds vengeance and mercy in perfect balance. You didn't need to clap back. You didn't need to scream your innocence. You didn't need to gather an army to defend your name. All you needed was to stand still and let God be God. He is not just watching. He is working. He is not just aware. He is aligning. And in the silence of your surrender, in the humility of your heart, God has been crafting your comeback. And when He unveils it, there will be no doubt. It won't be luck. It won't be chance. It won't be the work of man. It will be the undeniable signature of God. So walk forward with confidence, not in yourself, but in the one who restores beyond measure. Walk forward with peace, not because the pain didn't happen, but because it no longer holds power over you. Walk forward with power, not because you have all the answers, but because you are connected to the source of all wisdom, all justice, and all restoration. Let the betrayal be a reminder, not of what was done to you, but of what God is doing through you. And as you rise, remain humble. Let your restoration become a testimony, not a trophy. Let your blessings speak of God's mercy, not man's approval. Let your victory be quiet thunder that points every eye not to your pain, but to the one who turned your mourning into strength. For you will rise, not bitter, not proud, not spiteful, but whole, healed, and full of purpose. So now lift your eyes from the ashes. God is not finished. You are not forgotten. And this betrayal, this season of loss, this valley of tears was not your ending, it was your awakening. And soon, before those who turned their backs, before those who mocked your silence, before those who left you behind, God will raise you up. And when He does, it will be known. This restoration came from no man, from no system, from no hand of flesh. It came from God, only God, forever and always, God. And so, as this message reaches the depths of your soul, let it be sealed with unshakable faith. God has seen every betrayal, counted every tear, and heard every silent cry. But more than that, God has already prepared your restoration. The restoration coming to your life will not simply patch up what was broken, it will uncover who you were always meant to be when you are held, molded, and lifted high by God alone. Don't lose heart over who walked away. Don't fixate on what slipped through your hands. Don't waste your tears on the silence of those who abandoned you. Set your focus on the one who never left. For when God restores, He restores with righteousness, with intention, with glory. And before every doubting eye, every slandering tongue, every betraying heart, God Himself will raise you up. Not so you can boast, but so you can testify. Not to settle scores, but to magnify His name. Your story will not close in defeat, it will ascend into divine completion. And when that hour arrives, all will see it was never the work of people, it was never coincidence, it was always only God.